Yes, good afternoon. Welcome everybody to this afternoon's licensing subcommittee. Can I have a nomination for chair?
I nominate Councillor Udi.
And that's seconded?
Absolutely, yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Are you happy for me to hand back to you, Chair?
Thank you very much, Mr. Attrell. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's licensing subcommittee. Please be assured that we have put in place appropriate cleansing and social distancing measures so that this meeting is undertaken in a COVID-secure manner. Limited public seating has been made available. However, this meeting is also being webcast to allow members of the public to attend remotely if they so wish. Please be advised that the public seating area is not in view of the camera used to webcast this meeting. Please can I ask members to remain seated throughout and through the duration of this meeting, and if they so wish, to wear a face covering. If the continuous fire alarm sounds, please evacuate the room in the public gallery by the stairwells. Please do not attempt to use the lifts. Please assemble by Queen Victoria statue in Guildhall Square. In order to comply with the Guildhall Trust fire marshal regulations, anybody who signed in at the Guildhall reception desk should sign out when leaving the building at the end of today's meeting. May I draw everybody's attention to the fact that this meeting is live streamed, and members of the press and public are also permitted to record the meeting on the understanding that it neither disrupts the meeting nor records those stating explicitly that they do not wish to be recorded. Please can everybody use the microphones, and you just press the little button to use them and they'll go red and they're on, and to switch them off when you've been done. I'm going to go into introduction straight away. I normally do it by row at the back and then you work your way round that way. So if I start here and we'll go round and then the second row and then the third row, and we should catch everybody. I assume, are you a member of a press at the back there? Hello there. Hello. Thank you. So my name's Claire Udi. I'm the chair of the subcommittee and I'm the chair of the licensing committee.
I'm Councillor Benedict Swan and I represent Copner and Anchorage Park Ward.
Councillor Dave Ashmore.
Anna Martin, Democratic Services.
Good afternoon, Derek Stone, Principal Licensing Officer.
Good afternoon, my name's Ben Attrell. I'm a solicitor employed by the Council, and I'll be advising the subcommittee whilst they make their decision this afternoon.
Good afternoon, I'm Belinda Delaney, owner of Delaney's and applicant for the licence.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Philip Melville. I'm Belinda's husband and also the licensee of Delaney's.
Wouldn't get this right. Hi, my name's Anne-Marie Skillen. I'm a resident of Castle Road.
Hello, I'm Janet May. I live directly above Delaney's establishment.
Hello, I'm Pam McGuinness. I'm here representing CRAWA, which is the Castle Road Residents Association, and also on a personal level as a resident there.
Thank you very much. Can I just, I know that you two have definitely sent in representations. Are you here as a member of the public, or you also sent in representations before this meeting? Oh, okay. Would you like to speak at today's meeting? Oh, okay. Thank you. Before I explain how today's meetings will go, is there any declarations of members' interest at all?
Nope.
Same
Nope.
here. Nothing. Thank you very much. And then it just got left as that, and I've got my paperwork in here. Sorry. As usual, I just forget how this meeting completely goes because it's been so long. So as far as I remember, before I go into everything else, I was the chair of the subcommittee last year, so I'll just put that out there. I was reading through the minutes because even though it was only a year and a bit ago, it was online and it feels like it was 10 years ago because of COVID. It just feels completely weird. So after that, we just confirm that we're going to be having a subcommittee today on the Licensing Act for an application of a variation of premises licence for Delaney's at 77B Castle Road. So after we've introduced ourselves, the licensing manager is going to come in and introduce the application today. And then we will, as members, will be able to ask questions, and the applicant will be able to ask questions, and then people given representations are able to ask questions of the licensing manager, and then the applicant will open, and the same thing will happen again. And then the interested parties, you can both give a deputation. It has to refer to what you've said in your representations. I've seen the papers, so if you try and stray off, one of us might put our hand up and say, you can't really talk about that. I'd rather you not to bring in personal information within the meeting because it is live streamed. Because I know, as I've read the paper, there has been some things redacted, so everyone please be mindful if you're just going to bring up personal issues with people. And then also everyone can ask questions of you, and then we'll sum up the cases. It will go first with the interested parties summing up, and then the applicant will always get the final word. We'll break for a decision, which I can't say how long it will be, and then we'll reconvene, and I'll read the notice of our decision publicly, and then the meeting will end. You're welcome to come back for the decision, but because it is live streamed, you can also watch it at home, and you'll be informed by email and by letter in your case as well. So, everyone happy to proceed on that basis? Mr. Stone, would you like to open, please? Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon, members. So, as you've said, the purpose of this hearing this afternoon is to consider the application for a variation of the premises licence at Delaney's. The application has been submitted by Belinda, who's here before you, seeking to extend their existing licensing hours by 90 minutes on a Friday and Saturday evening. Currently, the premises licence permits the sale of alcohol until 2100 hours on Fridays and Saturdays, so therefore they're just requesting alcohol sales to 10:30 on these two nights. Members, if you're not familiar with the premises, Delaney's is a small restaurant that has been located in Castle Road for over 16 years. It holds a maximum capacity of 31 people downstairs and the ability to have 10 to 12 people upstairs for afternoon teas, baby showers or casual dining. As you said, in October 2020, a premises licence application was made seeking authorisation for alcohol sales from 10 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night daily. As you know, two residents living above the premises and also my colleague Richard Maidman from Environmental Health made representations, and as a result we had the licensing hearing which was convened on the 13th of January 2021, and as you said, Councillor Udy, you actually chaired that meeting. At Appendix D in the bundle you will see the decision that was taken at that hearing, which in effect was the panel granted the application, but at that time with reduced hours. This variation has been referred to committee for determination following receipt of relevant representations, which I will detail for you shortly. However, members, there are no representations from any responsible authority, in particular the police or environmental health. You'll be aware that the police and environmental health are considered experts in their respective fields with regard to crime and disorder and public nuisance, which noise is, and this is highlighted in the revised statutory guidance issued by the Home Office at paragraph 9.12 in my report. Representations have been received from 8 people, several of whom live together within the same households, objecting to the extended hours. 20 support representations have been received in favour of this application. The objections received are general in nature, relating to the potential for general street noise that this application might create. One maintaining that the premises should never have been granted a premises licence in the first instance. The support representations, however, express a different view with regard to how the business is run, the minimal impact the extension to hours will cause, together with the added benefits to the business and to customers. Several of these representations have originated from close residents to the premises, and you will see at Appendix C in your bundle all of the representations, some of which are obviously redacted. Members, the applicant has spoken direct to Public Protection and invited Richard Maidman to the premises before the application to discuss it with him. And as you would expect, I've consulted with Richard Maidman since then regarding this in order to secure a better understanding regarding noise and sound recordings that you may have seen referenced in one of the objections. And if you'd like that information during the course of this meeting, then I can obviously share that with you. I've also checked with him regarding any formal complaints regarding Delaney's, and they have had none. A further check has been made inquiring with Environmental Health if any of the parties objecting to this application have made any formal complaint regarding noise associated with Delaney's, and that also has proved negative. To assist you members, I've placed in front of you a list and a map of licensed premises in and around the area. I kind of guess you'd probably want that information to assist you. And on that, you'll see the times that the premises are permitted to open and also what times they are permitted to sell alcohol and their closing times. At Appendix E are various email exchanges in date order between the applicant and Janet May, who's here today, who resides above the premises, showing the level of communication between the applicant and Mrs May since the granting of the premises licence. Additionally, there is an invoice that relates to the purchase of additional soundproofing material that the applicant has secured, and you'll hear from her shortly, as now actually being fitted to the inside the premises. This is to avoid any additional noise and to ensure there's no additional noise to residents living above. And there's also a letter that was sent out in relation to residents, some of whom were concerned that if the hours were extended, the pavement licence or the amenity licence outside may also get extended, but that is not the case. That will finish at 2100 hours as it's licensed now. Members, since the premises licence was granted in January 2021, the owners have taken advantage on 10 occasions of extending their trading hours to times finishing either at 10 o'clock or at 10:30, and I'm sure the applicant can expand on this if you wish. Several of the 10 applications were cancelled due to the then changes in COVID regulations and the general closure or restrictions placed on licensed premises. I have detailed in my report the policy and statutory considerations, and when determining this application, you must, as you know, have regard to the promotion of the licensing objectives, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. Members, I don't really think I need to say much more other than in my report, as I always do, draw your attention to paragraph 11 under the statutory guidance, and that talks about reviews of licensed premises. Paragraph 11.1 says that in reviewing premises licences, it's a key protection for the community where problems associated with the licensing objectives occur after the grant or variation of a premises licence. At any stage following the grant or variation, a responsible authority or any person may ask the licensing authority to review the licence or certificate because of a matter arising on the premises in connection with any of the 4 licensing objectives. I don't think I need to say any more at this stage, members, but obviously I'm here throughout the proceedings if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Stone. Members, questions? Okay, thank you. Could you, first of all, explain, it's mainly for the benefit of people that want to know more about TENS applications, because I read through the representations and maybe people didn't know a TENS was applied for. I know how they're put up when someone applies for a TENS, but could you just tell me about the general gist of how it's notified to the public for me so people are aware?
Yeah, this application is submitted to us. It's advertised, and then we give a notice, an actual formal notification to say that it's been granted. The only people, if it's a late 10, the police or environmental health can object, and it will just not be granted at all.
Thank you. When people advertise their TENS, they just need to put it in their window, don't they?
Yes.
That's all. Thank you. Has there been any direct licensing, I think you might have covered it, complaints about Delaney since the grant of the premises licence? And has there been any complaints about Castle Road in general? I know that there's been the whole closure of the road due to like active travel and safer streets and stuff, but I'd like to know if there's just been general complaints coming in the area.
There was one complaint in relation to Delaney's, who, in relation to the seating of people outside their amenities, and I believe, well, I dealt with that, and it was a misunderstanding around timings and what was permitted, and as a result we contacted Belinda, explained what the rules were, and then she actually changed her and extended her hours for the pavement licence or the amenity licence. There have been issues in Castle Road with another premises not connected to Delaney's. There has been quite a lot of engagement with our department and environmental health in relation to those premises, but no formal action has been taken. And in recent times, those premises have changed hands. So we're anticipating there'll be no more issues there, hopefully.
Okay. I think that's all I had written down because obviously the normal question is what time is everyone else licensed to? I did have stuff written down. I think that's it from me. Members, just to come back to you, any follow-ups on that at all? Thank you. Mrs. Delaney, would you like to ask any questions of Mr. Stone? Thanks. Any from you at all? No? No, I can hear you, it's fine. That's cool, thanks. Mr. Delaney, if you'd like to go into... Oh,
Sorry, Chair, perhaps I could just ask one little question, if that's okay.
Maybe.
You mentioned in the report that several of those supporting the application live close to the premises. Can you just perhaps clarify whether there are any of those objecting that also live close to the premises, and what the sort of dynamics of the two sets of representations are, if you're able to?
Well, Janet obviously lives above, as does one of the other people who's objected. Just bear with a second. And that will be, I think it's Mr. Roberts, and Mrs. Pamela McGuinness lives a little distance down the road. But the other ones, there are people directly opposite, and perhaps it's best answered by Belinda, the applicant. She knows these people. There's certainly people directly opposite Delaney's who are in support of it.
Thank you, that's helpful, and I'm sure it will be addressed as the meeting progresses. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Belinda Delaney, if you'd like to present your case. You don't have to, you can say as much or as little as you want at this stage.
Right, so obviously we're here because we've made the application to extend the hours from 9 p.m. till 10:30 p.m. on just a Friday and Saturday. Our licence currently runs till 9 on Thursdays, Fridays and Saturdays. We have struggled with the 9 o'clock finish with gaining diners. We have had quite a few bookings that have cancelled once they realise that we close at 9 o'clock. It does only give people a sort of hour and a half dining window if they were booking at 7:30 to then be told to drink up, finish up at 9 o'clock and obviously have to leave. So we have really struggled with the bookings. So that's the reason for me wanting to extend these hours so we can actually make use of the facilities. I'll read along a little bit that I've written if that's okay, just to... So the reason to extend our licence hours is that we're initially granted the licence until 9 on Thursdays to Saturdays, which has proved to be very difficult to work with. We struggle to gain evening bookings for the restaurant. The licensing hours of 9 is working in as a deterrent to diners and leaving us empty and more attractive to people out for drinks. I know there is a concern from one or two people in the road that we want to operate solely as a bar, which is not the case, and we still operate a breakfast and lunchtime trade. We've had quite a lot of bookings, as I just said, that have cancelled when they've realised that we close at 9 o'clock. Again, it puts off people that may be celebrating a birthday, a family, or what have you. They want to, if there's a few of them, they're not going to find anywhere to go on and carry on the evening. I approached Janet before I decided to make the application, and I explained my intentions and the reasons why I wanted to make the application. I explained that I wanted to work with her and hopefully we could come to some amicable arrangement where we could sort of assure each other that there wouldn't be anything to worry about. Obviously I've got a business to run and I feel that I've struggled quite long enough with these hours, and I have left it over a year before applying to extend the hours because I was trying to see if we could work with it, but we're, you know, financially it's crippling. I've got a chef hanging around from about 5 o'clock each day on a Thursday, Friday and Saturday, really with just a handful of diners, and we're not filling the restaurant to the potential that we should be able to. along with other businesses in the road like Ning's, who are constantly busy with diners, and Giuseppe's, again, constantly full. Obviously, with the hanging around, there's all the produce and the preparation that goes with that and everything that's being wasted. So financially, again, it's hard. Before I went ahead with the application, I invited Richard Maidment from Environmental Health to come along. I showed him around the premises, the proximity to the neighbours, and I asked if he would have any advice for, if what we were doing was okay, was the music okay, etc., etc. I showed him the mezzanine as well, which shows that we have a whole floor between ourselves where we serve diners and have music between ourselves and the next floor, which would be Mr. Roberts and his mother. I know so anyway, I showed him round and explained, showed we've got various rooms upstairs. So we've got an office, we've got a beauty room, and then storage room upstairs. So we've got a very small area at the front, which is the mezzanine, which is open to diners or customers. Mrs. May's flat is situated entirely over next door, and it's just her bedroom that is directly above our property. When we were granted the licence in the first place, we obviously agreed at the time that we would have the soundproofing done in the kitchen area, which we did, and I paid over £2,000 to have soundproofing done. When we took the ceiling down, there literally was a thin bit of plasterboard with a skim over it. We've obviously clad it all out and then put several layers of fireboard and then another board over, so there has been a lot done there. So Mrs. May's flat is entirely next door apart from the bedroom, and now Mrs. May works from home all day in her bedroom, and obviously they want to go to bed because of an early start in the morning, generally I think they said by about 8 o'clock during the week. This is another reason for me not extending the hours on a Thursday, just to give them obviously the time to be able to go to bed a bit earlier on that Thursday. Once again, considering the needs of the neighbours. I do feel that, obviously you'll see that there's a lot of dialogue between Mrs. May and myself, that I've tried to consider her and the other neighbours around, but I do think that there's quite a lot of expectations from Mrs. May for a business to keep quiet for most of the duration of the day and the evening, which is a little unreasonable. If Mrs. May was working in the office with her colleagues, you would have constant noise around you from your other colleagues and the bustle and what have you of phone calls. Mrs. May also makes reference to the door being open in the kitchen, and that's unreasonable. However, we have been there for 16 years and prior to Mrs. May moving in, and the door's always been open during service. We've always had it open. It's quite a small kitchen area, a lot of equipment in there. It gets very hot, and I think it would be unreasonable to expect us to have the door shut for the whole of that time. Greg and his mother live in the flat above. I explained we've got the entire mezzanine level between us as a barrier from any noise, and we've also started to install some extra soundproofing acoustic boards, which I've paid for, which is in the region just under £1,000, which I think you'll see there's a receipt there. And that's just literally to make sure there's minimal noise from that mezzanine area. I know there are objections from some of the neighbours who live further away, but there are an awful lot of neighbours in support that do live closer than some of the other neighbours. In general, the road closure has been a big struggle to overcome, and obviously that's why we did the refurb in the first place and changed to a licensed property, because we were predominantly a cafe and takeaway, but of course the takeaway business disappeared once the road closed. I do feel that with over 13 other premises, I know there's 12 or so listed on here, but there are some just round the back as well, with varying licensing hours, which you can see there actually, which is handy because it's all in front of you, that it would be really unfair, and I would feel that it would be a singling out really not to grant us the extra hour and a half to a small business that really is struggling financially. And struggling to operate efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you there. Members, questions? Councillor Swan.
Can you tell us how loud the music is in your premises?
I don't have a meter, but it's within. People can talk, have a conversation. It's not loud. It's not. People aren't shouting and bawling over the top of it. It's just a nice level for you to be able to dine and eat, drink, and talk.
Thank you.
Councillor Ashmore. A quick question for me. What kind of entertainment do you have? Do you have live entertainment? No, just recorded music. Thank you. I think that was it from me. Mr. Stone could probably answer this too, but you probably can. What time is your amenities licence to outside? Is that all? I thought it was a lot later than that, because obviously some people have said it might have been longer, but there might be for Mr. Stone talking about an amenities. When you go for a 10, can you increase your amenities licence? And so it's the same time in amenities?
Yeah, all our amenities finish at 2100 hours, unless they've asked for it to finish earlier, obviously. But
Yeah.
all amenities on the highway should be in by 9 o'clock.
Is it the same down Castle Road as well?
Yes.
Thank you. I think that's where I'm at with those questions. Thank you. If I think of any more, I'll ask. Any questions from over here? Of course, Ms. McGuinness. Thank you.
You mentioned that the reason that you changed to a licensed premises was because of the road closure. I'm wondering, how long was it that you left things to determine that you needed to change? Only I know that the road closed in September 2020, but you must have applied for the licence by the October of that year.
The business dropped off almost immediately, Pam. Literally, it was doing this on a daily basis. And my brother actually works in construction, and I spoke to him. It wasn't a long planned out refurbishment. It was a case of, we need to do something, we need to look at changing this. I know that a lot of people in the road were really for the road close, and all along I was thinking it's not going to do me any favours if the road closes, because we do have a lot of passing trade. We have a lot of people used to come into the road, students that would come in their cars that had maybe once been in the halls of residence and they'd moved further out. We had a lot of takeaway trade, and we literally, nobody can park close enough. You know what people are like, they want convenience. People couldn't park close enough to get anywhere near to come in, and literally overnight the money, the takings were going down. And obviously I've got staff to pay, rent to pay, and all the other things that needed to be considered. And as I say, my brother works in construction, so he was able to start the refurbishment pretty much straight away, sooner than I had anticipated, actually. Because
sorry to interrupt, but how can you be positive it was that, when actually that was the period of time when we were in COVID lockdown?
Yeah, no, we had been open for takeaway. As you know, takeaways were allowed to stay open, and we had a very busy summer, really. And as soon as that happened, with the road closed, we just dropped off immediately. I'm quite happy to produce my figures if you really felt that was something you needed to see, but it was instant.
All right. It's just I see takeaway business going on with the other premises, so it just was a bit of an anomaly to me.
Okay.
A word I can't say.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
The only thing I was going to point out is that obviously we've got the list here of the opening times, but I don't know how many people actually live directly above these premises.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. It's the interested parties case. I don't know who's going first out of either of you, but if you'd like to say some words, you're more than welcome to, and we can ask questions.
I think
Ms.
I've
May,
been quite quite explicit in my representation. Like I say, the only thing I really wanted to add is obviously you've got supporters that are around. I think the gentleman here did kind of touch on what I was wanting to say in the respect of there hasn't been any support from the direct people living directly above or below or surrounding the premises. You know, I know people live close by, but they're not living directly above or below or around. So, you know, I really wanted to highlight that, you know. That's the main point, other than what, you know, I've given quite a lengthy objection, so I don't feel I can add anything other than that, what I've just said there at the moment.
Thank you. I can assure you that I've read it. Ms McGinnis.
Okay, a couple of things. I did receive the note from Belinda. There was no confusion on my part. I didn't think it was connected to the outside licence for the tables. However, people smoke, and when they go outside to smoke, their friends join them. So regardless of whether or not there are tables outside, as long as that premises is open, people do congregate outside and make a noise. And I do live, I should think, about 50 yards away. I'm not very good with distance. But we do hear noise from Delaney's when Delaney's is open. And Burns Night, for example, when it was open later through the Thames licence, it did stop me from managing to go to sleep when I wanted to. And I think that's probably why you've got a difference of opinion from different neighbours. It depends on their kind of lifestyles, whether they're night animals themselves or whether they've got to get up and go to work in the morning. I mean, I'm not teetotal by any means, but I still have the sort of life where I need to get up at a reasonable time. And my daughter works shifts, so she very often gets up early, which means, you know, waiting until licensing hours are over and then the sort of ongoing noise that happens after that is really not conducive to a road which is so heavily residential and narrow. It's not a big road. And that's me as a person, that's my experience. But I do want to also mention the mezzanine floor, I believe, is directly underneath the mother's bedroom or living room. I'm not sure which way round her flat is. But I get quite upset when people come to me telling me sometimes things that just aren't working for them. And here we have a lady who I believe is over 85. She can't listen to her television during the day because of the music coming up through. So she has no pleasure during the day watching, you know, her programmes. And then when she tries to go to bed at night, she has to wear earplugs to try and block out the noise so that she can sleep. And elderly people do need, you know, to go to sleep at a reasonable hour. So again, if you're talking licensing hours and then the overspill after that and the people sort of leaving and what have you, it's just not conducive to a residential area.
Chair, if I can help with, I think that's Mr. Roberts' representation, and I don't recall him make any reference to his mother having to wear earplugs and things like that in the representation.
As I said, I'm representing Clara, and as a Clara committee member,
I understand that, but obviously
the
the representations have to be submitted beforehand. We can't then add additional information.
I believe I put it in my representation. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought I had. Possibly not quite so clearly, but there's no reference to being a committee member here. Well, where is it, Paul? Sorry? It's the Castle Road Area Residents Association. It's been going for about 30 years.
I can't see any reference to that in here. I'm just confirming that, sorry. And page 41 was that. It's only because if there's not been a formal
It's
representation...
okay, it's okay, it's
Yeah,
okay.
that's fine, thank you. That's all, just... Go and ask a question of the applicant, if possible, because you've brought up some questions for me. Only about smoking. So how do you deal with patrons that might smoke or vape?
So we have, people will want to go out and smoke and vape, and very often, in my experience, when I've been there, there's only ever been really one person that generally goes out at a time. Obviously, if there was anybody out there making a noise and being unreasonable, then we would ask them to be quiet, the same as we do when we ask people to leave. Obviously, not ask them to leave, but ask when they leave if they're just quiet and respect the neighbours, and just generally keep it quiet for people.
Thank you.
I do also have, I've prepared a little bit of a map with where each of the people that have objected live, as opposed to the ones that have also been in favour of it as well, if anybody wanted to see that. I know you asked about the proximity of it. And it shows that obviously where Pam lives, she lives just down off of Castle Road through the driveway. She is actually also directly opposite Ning's and Monty's, and we're further down the road. So I would imagine any direct noise that might be coming to her would be from those two premises there.
Thank you. I know that addresses are listed in the representations. Committee, are you happy to see that?
Didn't know if it would just make it...
I've got to ask.
If any documents are going to be submitted, then it would need to be with the approval of all the parties here today.
Okay.
So
It's just a map that flags on proximity where the representations live. The addresses of the people that have made representations are public because they're submitted within the thing, but you're welcome to look, and if there is representations, we won't take it.
I haven't written everybody's address. I've
No,
just
no,
highlighted roughly, where they are.
No,
on the
if there's
map.
no personal information
Yeah.
on there, then I'll
If that's okay. Sorry. So in the highlighted is where the people that have made representations
okay.
against, and all the ticks are the properties and the proximity to where people...
Thank you.
Okay.
This makes it easier for us because Mr. Stone could have emailed them there to say where the representations are against. Is that okay? Thank you. Thank you very much. What's still got to give it to Ben and he can take it. Thank you, members. Do you have any questions of the representations, please? One moment.
Chair, perhaps I could ask a question at this juncture. It was mentioned that you experienced some noise on Burns night, I think you mentioned. What noise was that? Was that raised voices or amplified music, or and where was it coming from?
It was mostly music. I'm not very musically orientated, but I believe there were even bagpipes being played. It was, quite audible. I have, the deluxe dormer bedroom windows, and it comes in through there, quite easily.
Happy? Yeah, of course.
All I wanted to say is regarding Burns Night. What is Burns Night? Burns Night is playing a bagpipe. That is the tradition. So I guess most of the noise you may have heard, Pam, would have been the bagpipes. That is the tradition. They wouldn't be playing bagpipes all the time. Yeah?
What I said was that it was an experience for me for when there is a late licence at Delaney's, music, bagpipes, whatever it wants to be, it comes through to my area.
Yes, we had I think in our communication, you'll see in the pack that we had I'd asked for a piper to come and pipe in. I explained to Janet at the time that we were going to have a piper, and I wanted him to come and just see how it would be, and obviously it was very loud. So the idea was that he might pipe each guest in individually. Obviously, when we realised it was really loud, we said we'll just have one sort of piping in when everybody gets in, and then he did another little pipe, and then once he piped the haggis in, as they do, and that was it. So he arrived at 7 and did that for over the course of about 20 minutes until 7:30. Then when the haggis was piped in about 8:15, and then he left about 8:30, I think it was. So.
Thank you. Just to confirm to the committee, I've been to a Burns night evening at a different venue, so I'm aware of kind of the timings and everything that happens. And I also, maybe to make a point that obviously Burns night is the same date every year, isn't it? So it could vary in what evening it could happen if you wanted to hold an event as well. That maybe could be a Saturday at any other time. And I guess it is yearly one-off event if you chose to do it. Questions, members? Councillor Swan.
Just a question for Pamela, if I may. Having now looked at the map, have you had cause to complain or make any representation against Lings or Montes?
I don't generally go to the effort of complaining because, quite honestly, life in the street has been quite difficult since the road closure. But yes, Montes has been very problematic. It's mostly because of their bottomless brunches. However, I can differentiate between the two. Sometimes I go out for a walk just to say, well, which one is it now? And I am aware that noise has come from Delaney's on occasions. And I would point out, Nings and Pie and Vinyl coincidentally sell alcohol. They've got a very, very small bar facility in their premises, whereas the bar is sort of forefront in both Montes and in Delaney's, the way that it's positioned. And your own website says you're, selling cocktails and things. Alcohol is sort of part of the advertisement in both places. I've really had very little problem with Nings and with Pie and Vinyl. In fact, Pie and Vinyl, I'm surprised their licence isn't until 11. They're usually gone by 6. So, I can differentiate which premises is causing the problem.
With Pie and Vinyl, I do understand that I think they've just decided they might start to extend their hours till 10, and also they do have live music. They have bands on occasions. They do have quite a lot going on there, so it's not it's not just quiet tea and cake kind of place. There is a lot more going on than just that. Okay.
For the sake of clarity, I'd like to declare an interest that I have a friend who works in Pie and Vinyl. And I was in there Sunday buying things from Record Store Day. I was going to just ask about Pie and Vinyl, not just say about Pie and Vinyl. Was it disruptive on Saturday daytime for you?
They've been doing those record stores.
Yeah, it was Record Store Day on Saturday.
And I have to say that the people that come to those are mostly they're sober for a start, but they're very courteous in the way that they queue and what have you. So no, I don't. Sometimes when they've had live music, it's been quite loud, but it's during the day. And there was one occasion where they brought the amplifiers outside, and I did complain about that, and they had further ones inside.
I have been to an event. It must have been, it was obviously pre-lockdown. You've had Castle Road Day, haven't you? Castle Road events that normally happened around Record Store Day, as I recall that. But yeah, I just wanted to know about just a general feeling about Saturday. But I think if it's because releases only come out for that day for a very special occasion, that you'll get a lot of enthusiasts waiting that are very.
You get quite quite a lot of crowds, but they're not an issue.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Just to say about, who did you say did bottle of scrumptious? Was it Ning's?
No, that's Monty's.
Monty's.
They have just recently changed hands. Last Saturday, it was a little bit loud,
Yeah.
but it seemed to be a nicer clientele, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it will improve.
Is that just takes place in the daytime on Fridays, or Saturdays and Sundays
it's
and stuff?
daytimes, and it's not very nice. With, you know, again, they come out to smoke, and there'll be several of them. It's just the more you drink, the louder your voice gets. It's just the nature of the beast.
I've only ever been to one bottomless brunch, and it was a breakfast, and I'll reserve my opinion on them in general because I don't know how I feel about them, because it just encourages you to drink as much as possible in a short amount of time, and that's where disruption would probably happen from those things as well.
To be honest, the women are usually worse than the men. So.
Yeah. Oh yes, Councillor Sward.
So just to follow up on that, does Ning's and Monty's also have music?
I've never heard any music in Ning's. If they do, they play it very, very quietly. And Monty's has done in the past on occasions, yes, and can be quite disruptive.
Do you know personally? Because I'm happy to take an answer if you know if they play music or whatever. Thank you. I was probably going to lead into a question like that with you, more regarding, is your trade more predominantly based on people coming in to eat than coming in to drink? Yeah.
I wasn't downplaying Monty's at all. Monty's has been horrendous in the past. What I said was, on Saturday the clientele seemed to be of better quality. However, they were still quite loud.
No. I was just going to say, I think Mr. Stone alluded to the fact that a premises in question was probably Monty's, because he said about it changing hands. I guess that you're dealing with some issues there at the moment, and you'll obviously trust that you'll keep an eye on there at the moment.
Yeah, there's nothing proactive there at the moment, and we haven't had complaints recently, but obviously, and it has changed hands. But like anything in licensing, if we get complaints, we monitor those complaints, we investigate them, and if they're sufficiently serious enough, either the police or licensing or environmental health, if they've got noise issues, will go for a review. And that's written into the Act. And it's an important part of protecting the community to make sure that we can all get along together without any issues.
Thank you. I guess I'd just like to reiterate that you have the power to complain whenever you like, and you have the power to ask for a review on premises too. I guess as we head into summer and with the outside seating, things might change a little bit more, because I think it's British culture in general. As soon as the sun comes out, everyone wants to sit outside and drink, and I think that will play a major part over this summer. But I'd like to say that your concerns are definitely being listened to, and I don't have any other questions for you at the moment, but do you have any other questions? So I'm happy to move to summing up. So I'll just ask Mr. Stone if you'd like to say anything before I move.
No, other than I think it is important to reiterate that I've done these checks with our colleagues in environmental health, and there are no recorded statutory noise complaints in relation to Laney's. That is an option for people to register a complaint with the public protection people. There are systems in place, as you know. They will come out, they will do noise monitoring, and they will take enforcement action. And I think it's important that we actually are not in that position. Whilst we've heard noise complaints or noise issues, they've confirmed that they are not currently or have investigated any noise complaint since the licence was issued to Laney's back in 2021.
Thank you.
Chair,
Hello.
can I just ask something following on from that?
Yes, Councillor
Or
Ashmore.
a clarification rather than a question there, because on some of the objection letters, I think even one written by one of the deputies there, mentions that the original licence was granted despite advice from environmental health to the contrary. So you're saying that environmental health this time has had no concerns about it, or the police have had no concerns about it? There's been no other outside authority, if you like, saying this brings concern?
Absolutely, 100%. Even more so, the applicant has taken the trouble, because Richard Maidment, Environment Health, made a representation the first time round, and you listened to the concerns of him and the residents, you reduced the hours. The applicant has invited him down to the premises, and he's satisfied that, as in his professional opinion, there won't be a statutory noise nuisance, and if there is, the avenues are open to people to make a formal complaint to them, and they will investigate it.
And how would they make is the formal complaint procedure, I'm going to make it kind of a to the point thing, but is it easy?
Yes, they've got out of office hours as well, so you just make a phone call to public protection. They will allocate a reference number, a unique reference number to that individual, and then they put systems in place to come out. They will, if needs be, do noise recordings, and they have to prove a statutory noise nuisance, and they do that by taking sound recordings.
Okay, so
It's a very simple process.
So there is an out of hours place to call in case it does go on, and I've seen that the email trail, of course, I've seen that the applicant has actually got back. It's quite a regular communication that you've got to go in there, but there is a separate kind of authority out of hours. That's all I was worried about.
Yes, there is.
Just in case things do get overboard. All right, thank you.
I was going to ask you to sum up in just a second anyway, but I was just going to say, Councillor Ashmore, could you tell me what your cabinet member for?
Community safety and environment.
Thank you. Miss May and Miss McGuinness, I'd invite you to sum up now, and now's your chance to tell the committee, the subcommittee, why we shouldn't be granting this variation. Thank you.
Aside from the information I got on my objection, one thing I want to point out is I have hesitated on several occasions to the recordings. I have had several dealings with Richard Maidment. He said I have to make a statutory complaint. My main issue is the fact that I work from home and I'm not allowed to have any recordings of the business I conduct. And only about a week ago I've spoken to Derek, and I didn't know what the process was. I thought that somebody comes in and just put the recorder on completely for 2 weeks, and I thought, well, I can't do that because of my work. And it's only about a conversation with Derek, only about a week and a half ago, that I realised I didn't know how it worked. And apparently you can turn it on and off, but I didn't know that, and that is the main reason I've hesitated to actually go forward with any statutory complaints. Okay.
I'll just wait. We'll be able to sum up in a second. I'll just
No, nothing to add really. Just, that it has been a problem for some of the residents, maybe not all, but those that perhaps don't, spend their evenings drinking because they have to get up early in the morning.
Thank you. That has been noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, to interject. We've got one other party that's here today. I don't know if you wanted to sum up at all.
Did you want to add to this at all?
You don't look like you're jumping up and down to do so.
No,
but
just did.
I mean, yes, I'm here because I did make represented in favour.
Yeah.
But listening to what, yes, I can understand, yes? And it's not for me to make the decision. But at the end of the day, I too am a resident. I have been on that street as long, or a little bit shorter than Pam. I know the likes of the Monties and the what. I've seen them come, I've seen them go, I've heard the noise. And yes, it does feel like the Delaney's have been singled out because everybody else have done exactly, and they are not. Their clientele is no different from all the other clienteles. So my thing is, let justice be served and you be fair right across the board. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Mr. Delaney, thank you. Train of thought there.
Yeah, so just really we're here today to get the extension to enable us to make the most of the restaurant, make the most of our chef, let people have an enjoyable evening, and for the good of our business, really, because we are struggling. I noticed in one of the representations it says it should be in the interests of the residents and not the greedy owner. Well, the greedy owner is well out of pocket, and I'm actually paying the chef and the kitchen staff out of my own pocket, which is money I earn from my motorhome business. So for the last 6 months, I have had to find the money to make up while we hope and fingers crossed that the restaurant will take off. And that is why I've had to make the decision that we need to have the extension. And I think with 13 other businesses in the area, I would feel quite singled out. I would think it would be a very odd thing for us again to have a short licence. The other thing as well is that, just going on from what Janet said, she's suggesting about the noise and recording the noise, and she has to be quiet for work, but she's saying about noise during the day, and this is an extension at night, which generally on a Friday and Saturday night, if I'm not being unfair, you're having a nice evening and doing your own thing. You're not in your bedroom on a Friday and Saturday night. I know you have to go to bed early during the week, and for that reason, that's why I haven't extended it to the Thursday, because I'm still got your consideration in mind. So.
Referring to, I thought when he came and recorded, he'd record all day, every day.
Oh, okay.
So, the daytime is not so much the issue, but I thought the recording would cover all of that, and that's what I'm not allowed to do.
Right, okay. And obviously, before I made the application, I did consult environmental health. I invited them in to listen to the music and everything, how we play it. I did say it is a bit louder sometimes, so we can turn it up to a bit louder, how it would be. Again, he went upstairs and he's satisfied that we weren't doing anything to, go out of the boundaries of what we should be doing, really. So I would like to have the licence to see if we can improve our business and income, not for having big rave ups. I just want to be able to I want diners in the door, and I want people to have a nice evening like Giuseppe's, like Ning's are all able to do quite freely. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Members, one last chance to ask any questions if anything came into your head before I adjourn the meeting. To check the time, it's 2 minutes past 3. I think to meet again at 3:45. Are the members happy with that? So we will not commence the meeting before 3:45. You'll be asked to wait outside before you're ready to come in if you would like to see the result live, obviously, but we'll read the pronouncement. I would say pronouncement, does that sound like a good word? No. We won't read it before 3:45, so we'll definitely make sure that you're here before anything happens. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and hopefully I'll see you in about 45 minutes.
Yes, thank you, everybody. If I could just say, if during that time, if you did happen to bump into any of the members of the subcommittee whilst moving around the building, they won't speak to you. They're not being rude or inconsiderate, but it just causes all kinds of issues if there's any kind of conversation in the meantime. And as the chair's pointed out, the subcommittee won't reconvene before 3:45, so you can go and stretch your legs and have a drink if you need to. Safe in the knowledge that nothing will happen before then. It may take longer. Thank you.